Hello everyone, this is Dr. Supriya Singh, Assistant Professor in the Department of English, Vasant Kanya Mahavidyalaya, affiliated to Banaras Hindu University. I welcome you to the last lecture of the fourth week, and that is lecture 5th of the course Understanding Deconstruction, a Critical Approach. This particular lecture is titled as Deconstruction in a Nutshell. Here in this particular lecture, I'm going to revise what we have read in the overall course. So you will be able to revise deconstruction in a nutshell in this particular lecture. The very first slide, let me tell you that Jacques Derrida, a French philosopher, was born in the year 1930, and he is basically from Algeria, who was a Jew. And since he was a Jew by religion, but since the colonialism was playing a significant role that time, therefore, being the colony of France, the people of Algeria were considered as the citizen of France, and therefore they had to perform French culture or French religion in public. So when he was in a personal space, he used to go with Jewish culture, and in public, he was doing or playing with the French culture. Now, here the assimilation of identity can be seen when he was quite young. And apart from this, it would be surprising for you to notice that when he was just 10 years old, at that time, Vichy regime was there in France, and therefore citizenship of most of the Jewish people had been snatched, and a different school was meant for them. And therefore, at that time, Jacques Derrida had to left his school in order to take admission in another school. And this was quite insulting for him. And from here, perhaps the seed of assimilation and identity has been sown in her psyche. And this way, he comes to understand that identity is something that is not fixed. So, this way, we find that it is not there in his philosophy only, rather, we find this idea of shift, this idea of decentering, this idea of deconstruction was there in his very life. Now, apart from this, you will find that after some time, he designated or identified his religion or identity as Marano identity, where he got somewhat settlement. And this way, we find that how gradually he come to learn to fight to play with identity. And it is this reason why in May 1968 he participated in a protest, a students' protest, to go for a euphoric kind of society where government should not interrupt with the information. And this way we find that they were a group of people or a group of intellectuals who were now trying to play with the identity, the information, the idea, as well as the philosophy. And they were trying to shift the philosophy, which was quite different from the traditional idea. So, this way, we find that a euphoric kind of society was, or philosophy was being raised by these intellectuals. And this way, we find that gradually we shifted from structuralism to post structuralism. Now, coming to the definition of deconstruction, let me tell you that it is a method of critical analysis that aims to uncover the assumptions, contradictions, and multiple meanings present within a text. Now, what does it mean? It means that there is no set meaning, no particular meaning, no fixed meaning, because Derrida was particularly working upon a text, and therefore he discarded all sort of fixity in the text, and he discarded the authority of the author too. And this way he made the readers free in order to go for layers of meanings, interpretations, and so on. And this way he deconstructed the idea of structure. And this started from the very beginning of his essay, that is the structure, sign, and play in the discourse of human sciences, where which was published in 1966. And here in this particular essay, as we have already discussed, that it was there when he meant to read it as an article or present it as a paper in the John Hopkins University under the seminar that was titled Structuralism. But he through this particular essay or through this particular paper, he diverted or moved away from structuralism. And this is the point we come to understand that this is the point when he is shifted, or when he coined the idea of, when he founded the idea of, when he laid the idea of deconstruction. So this way, deconstruction is something that is basically extension of structuralism, discarding a fixed structure. Now, it is quite significant in the literary theory, because earlier, or in traditional school, we had a theory which was looking for fixity, which was looking for presence, which was looking for something that is important, and that primary idea is based upon the secondary idea, or there was a binary kind of primary and secondary, as we have read till now. So here, when we come to deconstruction, it dismantles all sort of binary, all sorts of structure, all sorts of center, all sorts of positioning or presence. And this way, it is quite different from other traditional philosophies or intellectual ideas. And this way, it laid, or it changed the viewpoint of the coming generation. And this way, we find that various branches like post-structuralism, feminism, postmodernism, and various isms came out of this deconstruction, and it changed the view of looking at the world, looking at the society, looking at texts, movies, statements, and philosophy, political science, and everything. Now, there are certain key concepts in deconstruction, though we have already done it in various lectures, but let us move one by one to them in short and nutshell. So, logocentrism is an idea where we consider logos or word as more important. And this idea comes in order to tell us that how speech is more important as compared to writing. So here a binary is being created in the traditional Western academia, where speech was given prominence in comparison to writing, with the idea that speech is more prominent, more important or primary because it has a speaker, and many things we come to understand by the tone, by the body language of the speaker. And speaker is talking in presence, so it deals with presence, whereas writing is something that is naturally meant for future reading, and we cannot be able to guess the idea, the tone, the body language of the writer, so it is less important. It is not going to give the deeper meaning as compared to speech. However, Derrida came up with the idea to critique logocentrism, and he says that writing is something that is quite important, because we can go through something that is in writing many a times, and after reading something many a times, we can go for looking into the gaps, the aporias, the contradictions, the inherent contradictions, ambiguities, and so on. And this way writing is more important. And actually, when he was talking about the three phases of binary opposition, the first phase was to allocate, to address, to locate, to analyze the binary, and the second phase was to overturn the binary. And this way he talked about writing, and he degraded speech. He gave the importance, he highlighted the importance of writing. And in the third stage, he dismantled, and according to him, nothing is important, and everything like speech and writing comes to a parallel status. And this way, we also come to understand what is binary opposition. So, in binary opposition, also the two terms are there, and Derrida comes up to dismantle both the terms so as to prevent any new hierarchy. So, this way, when, as I told you earlier, that he had problem with the assimilation and the identity, he had to struggle with his identity, and therefore perhaps from the very beginning he comes to see the importance of the other, the importance of the absence. And this way he, while dealing with Claude Levi-Strauss's, though it is binary opposition is a term given by Claude Levi-Strauss, where he said that the universe is always made up of two contradictory pairs, and human beings see the society and everything in the society in two contrasting pairs. and one is primary and the other is secondary, and he established the binary. So Derrida therefore comes up to critique this binary in order to give importance to one, that is absence, that is other, so that no othering could be done. Now, coming to the idea of a difference, let me tell you that he has talked about that how uh, meaning is based upon differences and how meaning is based upon deferrals. So he combined the two idea in order to give a new term, that is difference. So for him, language is based upon differences, and here he worked upon the idea of Ferdinand de Saussure, where he himself has said that meanings or language is based upon differential relationship. So in order to understand one, we had to contrast it, or we have to look for how it is different from a very neighboring or a very opposite contrasting term, and in this way only we are able to get a meaning properly. However, no fixed meaning is possible, we can only able to get a tentative meaning. So meanings are based on differences. Now apart from this, he also says that meaning shifts, there is no fixed meaning, and therefore we move from one sign to another in order to get the meaning properly. So he rejects the idea of sign also, saying that instead of sign, it is a trace. And trace is something that is there with hazy meaning and no fixed meaning. So this way, when he talks of meaning differs as well as meaning differs, combining the two term, he comes up to the idea of difference, where we are now open to play with meanings, because difference conveys the idea that meaning is not fixed, it is based on differences. So you can go for a very different meaning which is not there in a particular word, which is negated in a particular word, even that can be taken as a meaning of that word. And I had given you several examples while discussing these terms in the previous lectures. For example, if one is say I'm okay, it means that one is okay. But if one says that I'm okay, then it means that one is not that okay. So not, since the sense of not is also there in a particular word, so we cannot say that meaning is fixed, it shifts and it is based on differences, and combining the two words we have the concept of difference. Now coming to transcendental signified, we see that it is talking about here Jacques Derrida is talking about the idea of a transcendental signified, means a signified which can be seen as a pole star in language system. So pole star is something that helps in locating us the locating us ourselves. Even in sea, people used to locate themselves using the help of the direction of the pole star. However, there is no such transcendental signified or transcendental meaning on the basis of which we can locate the meaning of a particular word. We cannot go to reach a meaning of a particular word, and it goes on shifting. There is no fixed meaning on the basis of which we can refer to the position or the meaning of a particular sign. So it means that there is no transcendental signified. So he critiques the idea of any transcendental signified. Now coming up to metaphysics of presence, let me tell you that this is an idea which was there before Derrida. It is, you can say that from the very beginning, from the time of Aristotle or Plato, it was there in the Western academia till modern age. And here metaphysics of presence is something where we can go back to the time of Aristotle and his book 4 of physics, where he has defined time. And according to Aristotle, time is actually a motion which is always changing, and we are able to get time only in present. For example, if we are in talking about a minute ago, we consider it as past, or a minute after, we consider it as future. A day ago is past, a day after is future. So always, and if we are talking about the same thing tomorrow, then that tomorrow would be then today, and the present time would be the present time. So this way we find that we consider time, we see time only in its presence, and the past and the future are seen in respect to present. For instance, if tomorrow is Tuesday, tomorrow we will be talking that tomorrow is Wednesday. So again, this tomorrow is going to shift and shift and shift. And even if we would reach Sunday, then again we'll say tomorrow is Monday. So this tomorrow will always be there and future will always shifting, and whenever we will talk or give a statement, that would be the present. So present is always there, and whatever has been past and whatever is yet to come would be seen in reference to present. So this way metaphysics of presence is something that prioritize presence, and this prioritizing of presence was there in the Western academia from the very beginning, that is from the time of Plato and Aristotle to the modern age. However, it is with Derrida's philosophy of deconstruction that he critiqued this term metaphysics of presence, because he wanted to give the idea that it is not presence that is important, that is significant, that is primary. Rather, we should also look for absences, because absences play significantly in making the meaning of present possible. Present is possible only because of absence. Present has no meaning without absence. And if there is something that is not said, we can take it as an example that if something is not said, that is also relevant, because we then be able to read the gaps, why there is nothing has been said, why people are not able to say something or anything. So this way, gaps are also important, absences are also important. It is not only what is said, what is present, what is visible is important, rather what is invisible, what is not visible is also equally important. Now, there are certain central themes in Derrida's deconstruction. That is event. Event is the idea that he has given in his very popular essay, that is Structure, Sign and Play in the Discourse of Human Sciences, where he says that something happened, and suddenly after this event, very much like an earthquake, you can say, because it is considered by certain critics as philosophical earthquake, that people started thinking in other way. People's idea, people's philosophy, people's intellect shifted, and they started thinking and looking into things from a different perspective, and that is from so many perspectives. Now, one perspective was something that was traditional, but after event, after this philosophical earthquake, after deconstruction, we are now in a position to see things from different perspectives. So event is the idea that brought a sudden change in the philosophy of the Western academia. Now, play is the idea that has been given by Jacques Derrida in order to understand that the signified of a signifier is not fixed. Rather, we are now coming to an idea of trace, which is not indicating towards any fixity. Rather, it is talking about, rather, it is talking of the free play of meanings. So we have now several meanings. No meaning is fixed. There is no limitation for meanings, and all the signifiers are free to play with the signifieds. Next, we have trace. So trace can be easily understood in such a manner that, for instance, if you have a word, and if you look for that particular word in a dictionary, you will get 6 or 7 meanings. Now, imagine that a word or a word for which you looked into the dictionary is there, and all the meanings are hovering around that particular word. So now imagine it like that all the meanings, all the possible meanings are hovering around that word, and they are just traces. So there is no fixed meaning, because any can be the meaning of that particular word. So we cannot say that a word is a sign having fixed meaning. Rather, every sign is a trace, because in any particular statement or sense, you can go with different meanings. In another sentence, you can need to have attach another trace for the same word. For instance, if I'm saying that hello dear, how are you, it means that DEAR kind of signifier is to be used. But if I'm saying that I have seen a deer yesterday in the zoo, so DEER kind of signifier is to be used. So this way, according to the other signs in the organizational chain, we go for the meaning, and therefore trace is something that is not indicating towards a fixed meaning. Rather, the meaning is dependent upon the other signifiers or other signs in the organizational chain. Talking about center, let me tell you that center is a bit complicated, but you will be able to understand it with the help of an example. It means that center is not also fixed. For instance, if we are taking a family structure, if father is the figure who is earning, who is having his own rules and regulation, which is controlling the family structure, so he is in the center. But soon, if the mother too is earning and she too is implementing his own rules, her own rules and regulation, then this means that there is a shift in center. And when everybody is earning, everybody is having their own rules and regulation, it means that nobody is there in the center, rather there are various centers. So this way we can say that with the or center is something that is also commanding a particular structure. So if one is from outside the structure, or who is a part of the structure, as well as who is also outside the structure, is or can be one who can be situated at the position of the center. For instance, if we are talking of a text, author is the center, and we would be able to carve meaning on the basis of the biography and the intentions, the bent, the philosophical bent of the author. So if we are carving meaning on the basis of the author, this means that we are considering author as the center. But now with the arrival of the deconstruction, the author's idea has been discarded, the birth of the reader has been taken place, and now with every reader we have several interpretations, and this way the idea of center has been completely discarded. Now when we come to aporia, aporia is gaps. What has been written, when you will read something many a times, you will find gaps, something that has been intended perhaps but not completely shown. Or sometimes we see that though it is a kind of simple sort of a writing, but a critic can explore something new which is not even intended by the writer. So aporia is the gap that we or the critic or anyone carve to find out from a statement. So aporia is something that talks of the freshers or the gaps. Now coming to the future directions and thought, we find that deconstruction, naturally it is something that has brought about a big change in the philosophy of the new modern world, which is called now as postmodern world. It has changed the mindset. The traditional mindset was quite different from the contemporary. It has led everywhere. It has spreads its branches everywhere, whether it is psychoanalytic criticism, feminist criticism, post-colonial criticism, postmodern criticism, and so on. So the impact of deconstruction or post-structuralism can be seen in all fields, in all theory of criticism, and it has changed the mindset of people. It has changed our view to look upon the world, to look upon a text, to look into a movie, to look into an idea or a statement. And that is all. Thank you.